White or British wedding is a sign that we Africans are still suffering from mental colonialism and mental slavery. My argument is not that we should reject everything we adopted from the white colonialists, but it is centered on the fact that there are some practices that ought to be rejected in order to encourage and value the culture of our ancestors and our own indigenous tradition. Before the European man invaded us and came in contact with our African ancestors during the 1400s, Africans had their own way of doing their wedding. We call it the African traditional or indigenous marriage. But after colonialism, we started organizing the British or white man's style of wedding. Marriage in the African contextualization ought to be a situation where the parents of the woman and the parents of the man come together to formally confirm and traditionally bless the union of their children. Marriage is not something that must be taken to a church or bringing a pastor to bless. That is balderdash. It's a wedding where only the both families of the children are involved and where the man fulfills the requirements that are expected from him by the girl's parents traditionally. The new form of wedding we adopted, which is the British white wedding, has shown that we cannot do without the colonial legacy of the white imperialists. The European man twisted African marriage system with the fear that if you don't do a wedding in the church, it won't be blessed by God, thereby undermining our African traditional marriage that has been successful and that has been working with Africans for decades. For instance, before the white man came in contact with Africans, the issue of divorce and adultery was hardly known. African women were very loyal and submissiveness doesn't mean slavery. African children were very respectful and obedient, but today, all this has gone into extinction. Today, an African man will take his bride to church and do the white form of wedding, but after 2 weeks, a divorce paper is issued by either the man or woman. Today, adultery has overtaken our marriage system, even after doing the almighty white wedding and receiving the almighty blessings from the pastor. This shows that white wedding is not a guarantee for perfect and stable marriage. To make it worse, Africans are so pathetic, parochial, and myopic that after they concluded their traditional marriage, they go ahead to spend money on a British white wedding. Why didn't the white man also practice our traditional marriage? Why must we waste money on a white or British wedding pattern after doing our own traditional marriage? Today, our African women are so engrossed and obsessed with the British or white wedding that if they don't do it, their marriage is not complete. The fact is that the white wedding is a British form of traditional marriage where the bride is expected to wear a white gown to express this action. Historically, the issue of wearing white wedding gown started when Mary, the Queen of Scots, wore a white wedding gown in 1559 as she married her first husband named Francis Dauphin of France. But originally, the tradition of a white wedding dress is commonly credited to Queen Victoria's choice to wear a white court dress at her wedding to Prince Albert in 1840. Africans must understand that we are in the century of enlightenment and illumination. It is time for Africans to listen to the cock crow of the African Renaissance, for we are all Pan-Africanists, and as Pan-Africanists, our culture